All right, guys. So, look, print media, as I've already pointed out for you, has done a decent job covering what's happening in Israel and Gaza. They're the reason we know the civilian death rate. They're the reason we know about the collective punishment Israel is doing on Gaza. They really have done a half-decent job, and a lot of outlets deserve a lot of credit. Now, having said that, it is, I would say, like 80 to 85% of the coverage in TV media, in cable news, has been really, really bad and really bloodthirsty. Okay? So I'm going to give you some of the worst examples of it here. And then also, I'm going to give you some of the examples of print media failing too. I don't want to leave people with the misimpression that print has been all terrible, because it really hasn't. But I'll give you the examples of really big blind spots among some print media. Okay, so let's start with this. Here we are on Fox News. You have this Republican politician named Representative Brian Mast of Florida, and he is the guy who wore an IDF uniform to a Republican congressional meeting the other day. That's the kind of guy he is. He's super outraged by Rashida Tlaib's Palestinian flag that hangs outside of her congressional office, even though she's Palestinian American. He lies and pretends like, well, that means she's a supporter of Hamas. No, it does. Hamas has their own flag, and she's not flying that flag. Okay, let's stop being ridiculous. But he decided, well, then I'm going to wear an IDF uniform. Literally try wearing a uniform of a soldier of any other country in Congress, and they'll say you're a traitor. Like, who do you represent? Do you represent us, or do you represent that country? What are you doing? But he does it, and he acts like, it's totally cool, bro. So he goes on Fox News. He's going to really rip the mask off of his own ideology here. See, he's going to let it all hang out, let it all rip, because, look, there was just a Hamas terror attack against Israeli civilians. So people should be outraged at that. At the same time, as soon as Israel starts doing collective punishment against all Palestinians, you should also be outraged at that. Well, he's not outraged at the latter, okay? Listen to what he says here.
Congressman, as this is going on, and I know, Congressman, you have a resolution that you're going to introduce, but as this is going on, your colleague Rashida Tlaib is, with quite pride, displaying the Palestinian flag outside of her office. How does something like this happen?
They're Arab Nazis. That's what the Palestinians are.
Thank you.
They live alongside Jews, not for the purpose of living alongside them in peace, but living alongside them just long enough to plan, can I kidnap children? Can I execute the elderly? Can I execute the innocent? Not say military to military, but target civilians specifically. They should be looked at no differently than that, and they might as well put a swastika in the middle of the black and the red and the green, and that's essentially what she's displaying.
So let's be clear. He said they're Arab Nazis. And he said, that's Palestinians. He didn't say that's Hamas. He didn't say Hamas are Arab Nazis. He said Palestinians are Arab Nazis. What do you do with Nazis? What do you do with them? You defeat them. You defeat them all. You kill them all. That's what you do. That's the Occam's razor approach to dealing with Nazis. That's what we tried to do in World War II. Eradicate them. He's very comfortable with the idea of eradicating all Palestinians. And as he's doing it, screaming from the rooftops, you guys are morally repugnant. You guys are pure evil. Astonishing, man. Astonishing. So he's echoing the sentiment of the Israeli president, who said in a press conference, there is no such thing as an innocent Palestinian civilian. There is no such thing. Hamas won an election in 2006, and they could have done a coup d'etat. They didn't. The Hamas is still in power, so every Palestinian is guilty. This is what they said. This is what they are saying. Now you know the mindset. Now you know how we've gotten to the point where it's really bloodthirsty and it's just calls for retaliation and retribution and vengeance. Now you know where that stems from, because they really do. I'm only talking here about Brian Mast. That's his name, right? I think he's Brian Mast. Yeah, Brian Mast. And talking about the, unfortunately, a lot of the Israeli officials who are leaders in this conflict, they truly think this way. And what do you think's going to happen? Of course, that's going to lead to, hey, let's do a medieval siege of Gaza and cut off their water and their electricity and their food. Hey, let's bomb hospitals and UN shelters and people who are fleeing from the north to the south, as Israel told them to do. Hey, let's do indiscriminate bombing of apartment buildings and mosques and marketplaces, etc. And they look at all that and they think, good. It's wild, man. It's wild to me. I could not wrap my head around how Hamas could gun down innocent Israeli civilians, women, children, just butcher innocent people. I could not wrap my mind around that. And now I also cannot wrap my mind around people like Brian Mast who say, and I quote, they're Arab Nazis. That's what Palestinians are. God, it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. So in other words, his point is, look, they're not like you and me. They're just pure evil. Really? So there's no Palestinians who are first and foremost primarily upset over the illegal occupation, over the apartheid system, over the complete and utter lack of political rights and human rights and voting rights and statehood. There's no Palestinians who fall into that category with, hey, they have a grievance. It's not a religious grievance. It's not an ethnic grievance. It is a material grievance. There's no Palestinians who fall into that category. What a sick joke, man. But I got more for you. So now we have this, God, this rips the mask off of everything. Watch this.
But does that mean, does that mean starve the Palestinian people, continue to, because they will be so hungry and will be so desperate for water and medicine that then they will give up Hamas?
It sounds callous, but I mean, this is a war.
So yeah, we're going to starve innocent civilians. We're going to cut off their food, their electricity, their water. We're going to bomb everything in sight. We're going to kill their family members. And it may sound callous, but it's a war. Imagine that was you. Imagine that was me. Imagine that was your family member. Just imagine. Do you think that's a reasonable way to approach the situation? Do you think that's fair? This is on CNN. This is CNN. And by the way, you think these poor innocent civilians have the capacity to overthrow Hamas? A lot of these people we're talking about are babies and children and women and old men, right? Like, they don't have the ability to overthrow Hamas. By the way, even if they did, don't think for a second, oh yeah, Israel will just stop doing everything it's doing instantly. Say, hey, you want a Palestinian state now? Of course they wouldn't. Oh my God. All right, so look, this is just two examples of the genocidal bloodlust in mainstream media. Now let me give you some of the big missteps of print media. So this was in Reuters. Reuters journalist killed in Lebanon in missile fire from direction of Israel. Missile fire from direction of Israel. That's one way to say Israel murked a journalist. And by the way, they actually did it with multiple journalists. And these people were very clearly wearing jackets that said press. But they bombed them anyway. Give you another one. It's from BBC. Tributes have been pouring in for Issam Abdallah, a video journalist for the Reuters news agency who was killed in southern Lebanon. He died on Friday amid escalating violence along the country's border with Israel. He was killed in southern Lebanon, so that leaves the taste in my mouth that, was it Hezbollah that killed him? Somebody in Lebanon killed him? He died on Friday amid escalating violence along the country's border with Israel. Was it Hamas that killed him? Was it Israel? They're purposefully trying to deflect. I wouldn't bring this to you if I hadn't seen it a number of times. So when it comes to Hamas killing people, they use very intentional language. Hamas killed X. Hamas murdered X. Hamas commits terrorist attack. Very intentional, purposeful language with negative connotations, as it should be, because that's an accurate description. Many times when it comes to what Israel's doing, it's passive language. This person died. This person died amid escalating violence. No, they were killed. They were killed by Israel. God damn it. Look, again, I want to be clear. A lot of the print media has done a good job, and anybody telling you otherwise is just wrong. Because how do we get all of the information that we've brought up on this show? From print media. Many print outlets, many journalists are being very precise, and they are doing a good job. But there's many that just aren't. And like I said, TV has been way worse, and 80 to 85% of the coverage on TV has been horrendous. Credit to the people who are standing out, like Ali Velshi. We'll get to more on him in a minute, because there might be consequences from doing such a good job. Jake Tapper's actually done a decent job, to my shock. But most of it's been horrible. It's been absolutely horrible. And what else is there to say, man? What else is there to say? I really wish TV did as good of a job as most of print media is doing, because I think if that was the case, you'd see a different sentiment among the public and a different kind of pressure being applied to try to reach some sort of diplomatic, reasonable conclusion. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.